Hello and welcome to Mission Alive. Mission Alive. And yet today I would like to tell you about two funerals I went to in the past week. Funerals, gatherings for when people have died. For each of these people, all began the night before when people shared memories. So the first one was one of our sisters, really a young sister, who died from cancer. And when people spoke of her, they had no great stories to tell. She wasn't a teacher, she hadn't taught many children, she wasn't a nurse, she hadn't looked after the sick. She was an excellent administrator, an excellent secretary. If people asked for something, she immediately knew where to put her hand on that paper, on that article, whatever information people knew. She was one who really helped others by being in an office because she controlled things from there and she could reach out to the world with her computer. She could reach out to our missions. She was in charge of the overseas missions, so she was in charge of helping Africa, Sudan, Angola, Philippines, Papua New Guinea, Kiribati, wherever we have sisters working, Marshall Islands. People spoke so beautifully of her, a gentle, gracious woman. And then, when the next morning we had her funeral, the family were gathered there. And one of her relations sang a beautiful song during Mass, a solo, just herself. It was so beautiful. And then after communion, her other sister composed a song about the one who had died and sang that. You know the path. You know the path. We all know the path. We all know the path we have to follow, but the important thing is, do we follow it as she did? The second funeral I went to was of a man. This man was a priest, and he'd worked all his life in education. He'd worked in a big college in Queensland, a big college for boys in New South Wales, and a big college for boys in Canberra. So the night we went for his memories, all the memories that we heard were from boys who'd been in his class, now grown men, getting older, old men, because he was 97 when he died. And they all told about a man who was everything to them. He wasn't just a teacher, he was a listener, he was a guide, he taught them swimming, he brought co-education into their schools, he brought pre-marriage lessons into the schools, and these were so welcomed by the older students. How we have to treat our husbands and wives once we're married, so important in our world today. So they taught of this man whose place couldn't be taken. They said the other headmasters came after him were good, they were very good, but nobody could take his place. He was such a complete man, a complete person, not just a teacher, but a listener. Another man who brought peace. Another man who taught what children wanted to hear, wanted to do. Swimming. Everyone loves to swim in Australia, and so it's a very important part of education, and he brought it into education. The students loved him. And at the Mass the next morning, it was his family's turn to speak. And they spoke of this lovely uncle that they had. How whenever he came, they called his name. So that one day, a woman across the road, who lived across the road, came over and said, I have heard this name being called so much, I want to see this man. I want to see who he is. And so she met him. They were funerals, and people were sad to lose such great people. People who had given such education, such examples of what we can all become. We don't have to be the same as them, the same as that sister or the same as that priest. But we do have to believe people who leave a mark on this earth. That when we go, people say, I remember her, I remember him, because he was, she was. And their life lives on, because we keep that life alive in us, because we follow their way. You know the way, you know the path. Jesus said, I am the way, follow me. So remember to follow your way, to follow the way that will lead you to a happy death, lead you to a way that people will remember you, lead you to a way so that you leave your mark on this earth. Then truly your mission will have been mission alive. Goodbye for now. We'll see you later.